I want to show you the chalice that I keep at home. So here it is. You can see it has some wax on it. It has little feet at the bottom of the bowl. This is a replica of an object that's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And it's a pre-dynastic Egyptian bowl, which means it's about 6,000 years old, give or take. And people don't know what it was used for or why people decided to add the whimsy of little feet on the bottom of a bowl. But for whatever reason, it endured. And I've been looking at it and spending a lot of time with it, both to have a chalice and to just think about the persistence of this object, or the original object that has survived for 6,000 years. And think about how someone created that and it survived. Created this piece of art and whimsy. And while we know none of us are getting out of this life alive, perhaps some small portion of the beauty and goodness that we create will carry on long past us. So in this time of challenge, come, let us gather in this virtual way. Come, let us be People's Church without a building. Come, let us worship. It is good to be with you today.
Good morning. My name is Julie Schneeberger, and I'm happy to be with you all today, and I'm so glad you could all make it this morning. Hope your health is well. It is an honor to be with you, and I feel very fortunate to be part of our loving and growing church community as it develops many new ways to face our challenging world. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist tradition of liberal religion, which celebrates and learns from many sources of spiritual wisdom. Here at People's Church, we have adopted the mission to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. And in this time of the COVID-19 virus, everyone in our world is facing a gigantic problem, and yet in so many different ways. We all would like some control in this time of uncertainty. Some of us have slowed down, stayed home, connected more with our personal spiritual practices, and this has brought us a bit of calm in the storm. Others of us have ramped up creativity and developed practical ways to help our local communities, donating time, food, and money, making masks. People have had story time on Zoom with our friend Laura these past couple of weeks. We've had virtual coffee hours, chalice circles, meditation sessions, poetry writing, and time to share our ideas on making sacred space. For those not able to stay home, we want to thank all of you, healthcare workers, first responders, food service workers, grocery providers, truck drivers, and countless others in these sometimes thankless jobs. Thank you all. We will try our best as a congregation to live up to our principles of being just and compassionate, encouraging one another, seeking truth, acting for peace, liberty, and justice, valuing each person, and respecting the great, mysterious, interdependent web of which we are all a part. It's a pretty tall order. But as we join together today in the midst of a pandemic, remember this: we are staying lovingly connected while physically distant, and we will get through this together. Welcome.
All right, I invite you to find a good posture for singing. We're going to be singing number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. Your words are in your order of service. So we'll begin with the low part, which goes, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and then when I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Our preschool class at People's Church does the same chalice lighting every week. And it's one that I love, and it's one that my family now is saying several times a day because of the story times. So I will light my chalice at my house. I hope you're lighting a chalice at your house. And I will show you the words and the movements. So here's my chalice. We light this chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Welcome, everyone.
Hello. I have a story this is a story called The Prairie Tree by Kristen Mayer. The tree did not remember the day the family rolled over the prairie and stopped at the bottom of the gentle hills. It didn't watch as they built their home out of bits of sod and lumber. The tree could not have recalled how the family rode out to the stand of bur oaks to collect the furry acorns and planted them under the soil. It didn't see them celebrating that first green shoot that came up, but the tree did remember the family carrying water all the way from the river to pour on the sapling when the prairie sun burned hot without any shade down on its head. It recalled how the children would lie on their backs underneath the circle of shade and giggle and chatter. The tree would chatter back in its own whispering way. Then one day, the tree saw the whole family pack up all their belongings. It felt the arms of the children hugging its slender trunk and watched as they rolled over the hills and out of sight. After that, no one brought the little tree any water. Some years were so dry the tree didn't grow any taller at all, just twistier and more gnarled, the way bur oaks do. Maybe it was the dryness, or maybe it was the ground squirrels and the mice that ate all of the other acorns, but no other trees grew in this valley. The little bur oak stood alone at the bottom of the gentle hills, and it watched the big prairie sky, and it listened to the chatter of birds and creatures that came and went, but it knew no other family. One day, 2 crows came to rest in its branches, and they cawed and they squawked about their sisters and their brothers and their cousins, the way crows do. Family, the tree whispered aloud. I once had a family. family, said the crows. Everyone's got a family. No, said the tree, they rolled away. Rolled away, squawked the crows. Your family lives just over this hill. My family, said the tree. The children? Children, squawked the crows. Your family of trees is just over that hill there. Can't you see them? The tree stretched upward as far as its twisty branches would allow, but it could not see beyond the hills. So it took. No, said the tree. No, I can't see them. What a shame, said the crows, looking up and down at the tree. You're probably about as tall as a bur oak can grow in these parts. What a shame, said the crows as they flew away. Once again, the tree stood alone in the bottom of the gentle hills. A family of trees, it thought, a family of trees just over the hills. It tried again to stretch as far as it could, as high as its twisty branches would allow, but it was no use. It could still not see the trees over the hills. I must see them, thought the little tree. I must. I'm so lonely down here. So the little bur oak dug its taproot down deeper into the soil. It reached down until it felt just a teensy bit of water. And it pulled that moisture up through its roots, into its trunk, into its branches, and it stretched as high and as far as it could. It turned its leaves towards the sun, reaching, stretching, growing. It felt as if it was higher in the prairie sky than it had ever been before, and yet still the hills were too big and it could not see over them. The tree drooped right over where it stood, so sad, and then barely, just barely, like a whisper, it heard the whisper of another tree. Wait, other trees were whispering. Oh, the little bur oak was so encouraged that it sent its taproot even farther down deep into the soil and pulled up a little bit more moisture in through its trunk, in through its branches, up as far as it could, moving its leaves, stretching and growing until finally, just over the hill, it could see the very tops of the twisty, gnarled bur oak trees swaying under the big prairie sky. And on the days when the wind was just right, the now not so little bur oak could whisper right back and chatter away to its family of trees. When we are feeling isolated and alone, let us be inspired by the perseverance of the little bur oak tree. May we send our taproots down into the well of our combined waters of courage, resilience, and love. And remember, we are all in this together, and this too shall pass.
People's people are generous people. This week, the non-essential travel was ended and non-essential workplaces were closed, as we all know. And People's Church, while essential to many of us, is not on the list of what the governor considers essential. So our building is closed, and our staff who are able to are doing their best to work from home and pull things together. But there are staff members who cannot work from home because their jobs are in the building, like our custodial staff or some of our childcare providers, and others who don't have the computer equipment at home to do the jobs they do at the church. And we are committed to still paying these people because they did not cause this pandemic. And they are some of our most vulnerable folks in terms of economic situation because they work hourly and they work part-time and they have a lower pay scale than the salaried employees. So we are not making them bear the burden of this hard time. And part of why we can do that is because you all are generous. And so we have reserves, we have commitments to our values, and we are going to be able to take care of our employees in this challenging time. And that requires your generosity. So in a moment, the giving link will appear in your screen. And I invite you to give generously, to continue to be the generous people that you are. Some people have asked where to mail their checks that they usually bring to the church. And our mail is being held at the post office. So it is still secure to mail us things. So however you give, we are grateful. Thank you.
Would you please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us? From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
This is a community that supports one another in good times and hard times, in all of the times. And one of the ways we are able to do that is by lifting up our joys and our sorrows and our milestones when we are gathered together. So now I invite you, if you have a joy or a sorrow or a milestone that you would like to share, to put it in our text box. And I will pause our recording and I will read those so everyone who's joining us, whether or not they are savvy enough to find the text box at this moment, will be able to hear. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the joyous be shielded. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. And may all of us know we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists.
All right, once again, I invite you to find a comfortable singing position. This is number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness, and you'll find the words in your order of service. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
I invite you to join me in this breathing meditation by Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. I'm breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. And breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. And breathing out, I know that this is a wonderful moment. Aware of my body, I breathe in. And smiling to my body, I breathe out. Looking to the roots of the pain in my body, I breathe in. And smiling to the roots of pain in my body, I breathe out. Looking at the roots of feeling sadness in my body, I breathe in. And smiling to the roots of sadness, I breathe out. Looking at the roots of feeling pain and anger, I breathe in. And smiling to the roots of feeling pain and anger, I breathe out. Looking at the roots of feeling fear, I breathe in, and smiling to the roots of fear, I breathe out. I invite you to take a moment to notice whatever feelings you may be experiencing at this time. As the world is changing so rapidly around us and in such profound ways, what feelings and emotions arise in your body, in your heart, and in your spirit? Maybe anxiety or fear, sadness or anger, uncertainty, resignation, or disappointment. Whatever arises, gently allow those feelings to be there and just simply acknowledge them. You may wish to place your hand on your heart or another comforting gesture as you just allow yourself to sit with those feelings. Taking a few deep breaths and acknowledging and allowing whatever arises and is present in you. As you inhale, you can invite a tender inner smile in your heart as you recognize your feelings. And as you exhale, imagine a release of any stress you may be experiencing. Imagine your heart being filled with loving kindness and compassion for yourself and for others in these difficult times. You may wish to say a few phrases of well-wishing towards yourself and others. In your mind's eye, I invite you to repeat after me this prayer of loving kindness. May I see the source of my fear, and may I be safe and free from fear. May I be happy and at ease. And I invite you to think of someone else that you would like to send that blessing to. And you can say, may you see the source of your fear. May you be safe and free from fear. May you be happy and at ease. And I invite you to think of all beings, all sentient beings, as you say, may all beings see the source of their fear. May all beings be happy and free from fear. May all beings be safe and at ease. May we remember to run our tap roots deep into the well of wisdom, courage, and love contained within each one of us, so that we may live each day from this well of love. May it be so, and may we make it so.
I have two readings, Reverend Rachel. The first that I have is Doubt by Doubt, A History by Jennifer Michael Hecht. Great believers and great doubts seem like opposites, but they are more similar to each other than to the mass of relatively disinterested or acquiescent men and women. This is because they are both awake to the fact that we live between two divergent realities. On one side, there is a world in our heads and in our lives, so long as we are not contradicted by death and disaster. And that is the world of reason, plans, love, and purpose. On the other side, there is the world beyond our human life, an equally real world in which there is no sign of caring or value, planning or judgment, love or joy. We live in a meaning rupture because we are human and the universe is not. Great doubts, like great believers, have been people occupied with this problem, trying to figure out whether the universe actually has a hidden version of humanness, or whether humanness is the error, and people would be better off weaning themselves from their sense of narrative, justice, and love, thereby solving the schism by becoming more like the universe in which they are stuck. Cosmology can be stunning in this context. It is meaningful to get to your wedding on time, to do well in the marathon for which you have been training, to not spill coffee on your favorite shirt. But if we take a few steps back from the planet Earth and from our tiny moment in history, we see a very different picture. The Earth is a ball of water and dirt, swarming with creatures living and dying, passing in and out of existence, shifting around the continents. A few steps further back, and we see planets coming into being, stars being born and dying, galaxies swarming in clusters across billions of years. The Earth blips into existence. Life appears and swarms, and the Earth blips out of existence. From this perspective, the importance of a favorite shirt, a finish in the next marathon, and even whether you show up at your wedding, all of this begins to seem inconsequential. Concentrating on the macro picture of reality is enough to make you sit down on a park bench and never get up again. The Serenity Prayer by Reinhold Niebuhr. God, give us the courage to change what must be altered, to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know the one from the other.
Our next reading is by Lynn Unger, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister and religious educator who's been really prolific in the past few weeks. She's been called the poet laureate of the pandemic. She wrote this poem last Monday, and it spoke to something that I have been working through. Distance. Admit it. You've watched the news, witnessed the scenes of devastation from afar, earthquake, tsunami, bushfires, drought, and instructed yourself in distance. Coached yourself through how this could never happen to you. The desperate refugee at the border, children hiding from bombs in Syria. Of course you're sorry, but parsed your own security through it all. Who hasn't listened to a siren scream by and muttered a prayer almost beneath consciousness? Please, let it not be my house. Let it not be someone I love. Please. Surely we are safer behind some sort of wall, protected from the grief of belonging. But all along, your heart knew it was a lie. the polite fiction that you tell a child. Nothing bad can happen. You're safe with me. Look around. Confess the truth, the horrifying blessing, the cracked heart of our salvation. There is no them. Everything that happens, happens to all of us. This week, my older child became afraid of venomous snakes. We were out for a walk through our neighborhood, and he asked if there were rattlesnakes that would bite him. When I assured him that there are no rattlesnakes in Michigan, he asked about vipers. I offered reassurance, and he asked about cobras, then boa constrictors, then anacondas. We had read a book about snakes last week, and he remembered so many of their names. And I offered reassurance after reassurance. They don't live in Michigan. They don't live in Kalamazoo. They don't live in our neighborhood. They can't bite you. I won't let them. I will keep you safe. It was as though, in his 4-year-old wisdom, he recognized how uncertain these times are and asked a question that he knew would get a reassuring answer, even if it's not the real pressing question of the moment. When I asked about snakes, I could tell him nothing bad will happen. You're safe with me. And I felt relief when he asked about snake bites because I can't offer nearly as much reassurance about the big bad germ, as we call COVID-19 in my house. The big bad germ is why everything is closed and canceled, why he only gets to see his friends and extended family through a computer screen, the reason his parents and other grown-ups are acting differently. And the nature lovers among you might already know my mistake, and at least one of you has already messaged me with my factual error. There are venomous snakes that live here in our county, the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake. It sticks to wetlands, so we're unlikely to spot it on a neighborhood sidewalk, but my reassurances were not as true as I thought they were. And that feels like a parable for today, for these days. If we lived with the safety and reassurance and certainty before, and not all of us did, it has crumbled. In this time of pandemic, we don't know and we can't know if one extra social contact or one extra trip to the grocery store is one that transmits virus. We wonder how vulnerable doing our essential jobs makes us. We are constantly calculating, managing, mitigating risk. It's exhausting, and we won't ever get to know if our individual tiny actions made a difference. If postponing the grocery store trip or washing our hands that extra time made the difference. This isn't a science experiment where we get to run our choices alongside a control group and see what would have happened had we done something differently. I wish it was. But this is a group project. We fail or succeed collectively, and the stakes are high. Many of us, those of us who live with some amount of privilege, class or race or gender, ability, country of citizenship, any of the others, get to much of the time live in a way where we think we are in control. We get to make plans and see them carried through. I personally am a planner, and I have grieved the change plans that this pandemic has brought to my life. And I also know, intellectually, if not in my heart yet, that those plans were never a certainty. I was never in control. The universe doesn't align itself for me, but I so often get to live in the illusion that it does. This is one of those spiritual lessons that I will probably never stop learning, as the illusion of control is so appealing to me to many of us, and we can slip back into it without even noticing. Living with the amount of uncertainty that we are living with now is so exhausting. It is exhausting, and there are moments of clarity. One of the questions I've started asking myself to help manage all of the decisions that feel so huge right now. Do I really need to run that errand now, or can it wait a few more days? How do I best balance caring for all of the people I care for right now? The question is, if I am looking back on this in 5 years, will I feel good about this choice? Will I be able to tell myself I did my best? I offer that question to you because it has been so helpful to me. Imagining a more distant perspective makes my choices now clearer. It makes it easier for me to prioritize the collective good and act based on my integrity instead of my convenience or ease or following the path of least resistance. So I offer the questions to you again. If I am looking back on this in 5 years, will I feel good about this choice? Will I be able to tell myself I did my best? As I think and work my way through the illusions of control that I and so many of us usually get to live with, I remember that people who are in recovery from addiction are some of our best teachers about this particular illusion, particularly those who have worked through the 12 steps as part of their recovery process. Many of us know this already, but the first step in 12-step programs is admitting one's own powerlessness. We are not in control of our addictions, and our illusions of control make life unmanageable. I've thought about that a lot these weeks, remembering that the illusion of control is often the problem, not the lack of control itself. It's that painful gap between what we hope for and what is that causes pain, more than either of the extremes. So when we admit the limits of our own power, it's easier to live a life of integrity when we recognize that so much is so far out of our control. The second step is believing that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. I know that many humanists, atheists, agnostics can struggle with the theological components of 12-step programs. If you don't believe in God, what does having a power greater than ourselves mean? And I also know that many humanists, atheists, and agnostics make this step work for them. They interpret the power greater than themselves as cosmology, or the randomness of the universe, or the changes that unfold across millennia. Some are uncertain about what is at the center of the universe, but know for sure that they are not. And I know we at People's Church don't agree about powers greater than themselves, or if there is some central organizing principle of the universe. But I think we can agree that we, as individuals, are not in control, or at least as much control as we wish we were right now. That we are not at the center, and there are forces greater than us, cosmological, scientific, chance, biological, or perhaps divine, that shape our lives. Earlier, Julie read an early version of the Serenity Prayer, which is a common reading in Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step groups. Reinhold Niebuhr was the author was one of the most important theologians and political philosophers of the last century. And he wrote, "God give us the courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know one from another." I prefer this early version because the slightly different wording helps me hear the ideas in a new way. And while I know that prayer is not part of all of our spiritual vocabulary, I think we all are yearning for courage, serenity, and insight for ourselves, for our communities, for our leaders now. When we recognize the limits of our own power, the limits of our own control, serenity can come. I know that there is so little that I can control right now. Who gets sick and how badly? When we'll be able to gather again in person? How the social isolation of this time will impact the most vulnerable among us, and on and on and on. Sometimes I am awake at night, listing the things beyond my control. And I remember what I do have control over. Being as present as I can to the people I love, whether we are together or apart. Not overwhelming myself with the news. Offering what reassurance I can that's rooted in my best understanding. And changing what that reassurance looks like when circumstances change or I learn new things. My next conversation about rattlesnakes will be different. And I take care of myself as best I can. These are hard times. They are challenging our spirits. They are teaching us about the illusions that we used to live with that are shattering in the face of our new realities. And this is a chance, as every moment is, to act with as much integrity and care for one another and care for ourselves as we can muster, so that in 5 years or in 5 minutes, we can say to one another and to ourselves, we did our very best. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen. We are going to end in song. We're singing There Is a Love, which is words by the Unitarian Universalist theologian and former seminary president, Rebecca Parker. And people have asked before when we've sung this, because we've sung this before, is what is the love? Is it community? Is it God? Is it, just the connections that are between us as humans and creatures on this planet? And my answer to that is yes. One of the best things about poetry is it holds multiple meanings. So whatever the love that holds you looks like, whether it's a partner or a family member, the great cosmic love that some of us call God, or just everyone doing their very best in this moment to take care of each other by staying apart from one another. I invite you to sing about that.
All right, you'll find the lyrics in your order of service and also the chat. Here we go. We'll do this twice together. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. And one more time. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
So let us close with these. Well, first logistics. We're going to be doing this coffee hour breakout room thing where you'll be sorted into small groups. If that is not something that you want to do, that's fine. I invite you to leave this Zoom meeting during the postlude. But let us close our service with these words, these ancient words that many of you know very well. Keep alert, stand firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong. Let all you do be done in love. Go in peace, go in love. Take good care of yourselves and each other.